Hello and welcome to another edition of the eCommerce Odyssey podcast. I'm here today with Kaus from mason.io. We're going to talk about the benefits of automating a Shopify store. So Kaus, in your opinion, what are the benefits of automating a Shopify store?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And we had a really great conversation just before we started recording. So we've already known each other a little bit now. But when you step back and you look at essentially anyone who's come online and now you've set up your online store, right? Like forget Shopify, any online store. I mean, it's hard as it is now with all the competition around. It's so much easier to come online and set up an e-commerce store. It's just so hard to stand out and to win, to grow constantly, right? And why would you want to do the every tiny nitty-gritty operations that you to keep your store fresh, or what's happening in your data, or how do you even understand how customers are engaging with your products, or how do I essentially utilize CRM or loyalty? There's a ton of different things that you've got to know, and from marketing to literally operations to CRM to loyalty to fulfillment, there's a bunch. And I personally think that it's just meaningless if you have to do everything, learn everything, and do everything on your own all the time. There's a ton of better things that you can spend your time on. And, the core being, you can spend your time understanding your customers, understanding what products work for them, rather than all the everyday, day-to-day stuff that you end up doing. So the primary benefit of automating your store, it gives you time. It gives you that space to kind of step back and understand the core of your business, which is your customer, and understand what works and what doesn't work for them. Rather than being busy for the sake of busy, automation helps you refocus your energies on the right things.
Okay, so what are the most important things that should be automated?
I mean, there's the standard stuff that people have been doing for a while. There's of course your email marketing and your notifications. So essentially CRM is something that people have been automating for a while, and that's probably because that space is really filled with great products, like from a MailChimp to a Klaviyo. It's a very, very evolved ecosystem already. So CRM and loyalty is something that's been being automated for a while, and you should definitely do that. Shipping, fulfillment, your whole order tracking, that's something that people are have started doing for a bit again, and that's definitely something that you should definitely do. Why do you have to worry about which shipment is a bunch of these orders are going towards, right? Like that is just too much work. Which carrier should I send it to? You don't really need to bother. There are tons of great products out there, from Shippo to whatnot. Just utilize them, right? I see one interesting thing: customer experience and customer support is something that now is taking center stage when it comes to when people are thinking, how do I now that I've got like the day-to-day logistics out of the way, what's next? And that's usually customer experience, because as we were talking about, it's so hard to grow online. There are tons and tons of competition, and you got to make sure that every penny that you spend in getting a customer to your store, you really utilize it, right? So you're spending a bunch of CAC, you got to make sure that you optimize your customer lifetime value. And customer experience is the primary lever for optimizing your CLV today, right? And there are different things in customer experience that you can automate. Most people don't, like customer support. I mean, Gorgias, for example, powers you to automate a bit of your customer support, and that really helps for sure. You don't have to really spend, even for simple questions, you don't have to be there and make sure that you're responding. Your storefront itself, which is your store itself, has a bunch of all these different components in it. You've got your different collections. You've got sales that you're launching. You've got product bundles that you want to showcase to your customers. All of that are different parts of your are essentially different parts of your store. And most of the time, that's like the last thing that people even think about. Can I really automate it? Because it's not just about saying that I want to make a collection. You have to make the collection look good too. Create a cover art, create a banner, all of that stuff. So that's something that now you're seeing that teams are starting to use, like Zapier, and tie in some other capabilities and sort of trying to automate. So I would say that definitely do your table stakes, which is your CRM, your fulfillment, your order tracking, all of that, but also start thinking about customer experience automation.
So how does your product help to automate these processes?
See, when you're running your everyday store, there's a bunch of e-commerce strategies that you do, right? And if you abstract it out, it's mostly sales and promotions. So you definitely run sales and promotions on a very regular basis. You have stock and inventory updates. Are my products back in stock? Are they running out of stock? There's only 5 items of this product left, right? Or these are trending products, like a bunch of customers are buying it. So there's a lot of stock and inventory updates. There's product bundles. Hey, like these best bought together, or maybe my highest converting orders, I create them into bundles, right? So these are different e-commerce strategies that you run very regularly, and most of these strategies are based on the data in your store. Like my store, what's the cost, what's the price, what discount am I putting my products on, what is the inventory status of my products, right? So what Mason helps you do is essentially watch that data. So you can actually set a rule like, hey, if my inventory is running below 5, call it out as last 5 left, right? You don't have to really go see that data happening and then go back to your store and actually manually update it. It just automates that whole experience itself of every time your products are running low, it automatically packages it into last few left collection, shows it to the right customers. If it goes out of stock, it marks as out of stock, comes back in stock, it marks as back in stock. All of that can happen on its own. So what Mason helps you do is watch your data and drive your experience.
Okay. So is it, I mean, okay, so imagine I'm a total Shopify newbie, right? And I just have no idea what the best things to do. Well, what are the kind of, do you have kind of best practice automations that you're just out of the box, you say, these are things you should do?
Absolutely. In fact, per industry, we started out with having like very standard playbooks, like, stock out, stock in, trending products. These are like very basic stuff. But as we, over the last year and a half, as we've worked with more teams, we've started understanding, hey, that for different industries, there are different kinds of, strategies that we run. For example, in food or groceries, you can't keep your products beyond a certain amount of time, right?
Yes.
Let's say you have salads, you've got to make sure that they sell out on the same day. So you definitely need like some sort of a watchdog that keeps an eye on, are my salads selling out by 12 o'clock or not? If they're not, I need to put them on sale. I need to get them out of, you clear that inventory. So we're learning that, hey, different industries have these specific strategies that are very, very crucial to actually make your business work. So now we are also adding more industry specific playbooks as we understand that from customers.
Okay, so do you have any kind of examples of a customer success story of something? What have they done and how has it helped them and how would you measure how it helps you?
Yeah, and so we have a bunch of awesome teams using. In fact, Skechers is one of the teams in Thailand. Their store actually uses Mason a lot, and the interesting thing that they do, and they're, of course, Skechers, everybody knows, like, sports shoes, running shoes, blah, blah, blah. And one thing that they do, they're an online model. So they definitely have their own stores. They distribute their products across different, retailers and distributors, and they also have an online presence, right? So one of the strategies that they do, which is very related, similar to, in a way, the clearance strategy, but but morph to sports, to shoes and footwear, is that and in an offline online way, they look at which of their products are really selling or people are really craving for offline. And when that when the stock runs out in their offline stores, they don't have to store the stock in different warehouses anymore. What they do is that they centralize it, they run discounts on it on their online store automatically for it. And then so you have your offline Skechers stores and somewhere in Thailand, they see that certain product is doing really well, and it's difficult to kind of distribute this product across all that different regions. So they centralize it, they put a great discount on it online, and then they get amazing amount of traffic and folks who come and buy that same model, right? So that's a very, very interesting strategy that we've seen Skechers run, for example, for footwear. But another example that I personally love is customer favorites. I'm by the way, that works for me when I go into an online store. I'm a sucker for it. You go into an online store and then you see that, hey, like most loved or customer favorite, and you're always excited. There's like social proof element to it, so it kind of gives you that, people love it. And then there's also FOMO. So it's like a lovely combination of both. And we've seen a bunch of fashion and accessory stores actually use that really well, where they automate the whole process, that every time, a certain product sells more than 50 times in the last 1 week, for example, mark them as customer favorites and, showcase them on the homepage in a collection. So stuff like that. That's another interesting thing because it works for me too.
Okay, so basically, it's one of the main uses is creating bespoke collections out of based on customer behavior, and then promoting those to customers.
Yeah.
Well, do you do cross-selling as well? Does it? I mean, what does it automate in terms of cross promotions?
Yeah, that is actually something that we are adding now. These are some of the new playbooks. By the way, it's not just about bespoke collections, but also like sales and discounts and stuff. So for example, you can schedule a sale for a weekend. You can say that, hey, any product that's tagged as 50% off, launch the sale on Saturday night and pull down the sale on Monday morning, right? So you can also do strategies like that. So it's sales and bespoke collections. Sorry, what were you?
I was saying, we were asking about. I was saying about cross-selling and
cross-selling, yeah. So that actually is it's a great question. Also because that's one of our top, I guess, requests from customers is that they have a lot of data in their Shopify or any other store. Usually you get, right? Like my orders are typically when someone buys this t-shirt, they end up buying this pair of jeans with it, right? Or if someone in toys and baby care, for example, usually people end up buying a bunch of things in bundles, right? So one of the requests that has started coming in is that, hey, whenever someone's adding a certain product, and then there are typical, very common orders which have other products in that order, can you automatically showcase that as a bundle to that user and promote that on my store, right? So these cross-sell and upsell bundles and promotions are definitely something that we are adding to the roadmap. It's not live yet.
Okay. So how would you, if I needed convincing about how well this would work, how would you sell it to me? Is it, can you put any figures on time saving or increased sales, or is it just a bit bespoke to everyone? So,
initially it was about time save, right? Like we launched in about 2020, mid 2020, and our primary observation was that it's really hard for folks to kind of operate at the level that they need to. Retail is something which burns out, where people, employees, owners, they just burn out a lot because it's so intense. Yeah. And specifically when you move to e-commerce, it's like 24/7 store. So it's like even more, right? So it definitely started with productivity. But honestly speaking, what we've started seeing over this last couple of quarters is that a typical store, which is, let's say, at a 5 to 10 million GMV. So you're getting to be a successful business. And if they turn on about 10 playbooks, automation playbooks, which is around stock, inventory, and sale. They end up seeing 25 to 30% uplift in their store conversions. So that's actually pretty interesting, because our what we now understand is that because you are able to kind of take away the everyday rigmarole of doing hey, I want to put this discount on all my products now. Okay, I got to clean up the discount now, right? So all the stuff goes out of the way. People are able to really plan ahead and experiment with more strategies, right? Does a flat 50% off work for me, or will a buy one get one free work for me, right? So they're able to experiment with all these different strategies, and they're starting to see that actually leads them to find the right set of playbooks that works for their industry and their customer segment.
Okay. So if this, I mean, if this product's successful, I'm sure it is successful, but as it gets more successful, right? Are you worried that Shopify is going to come in and copy your product and just add it as a standard feature or something similar?
I mean, that's always the case, right? Like if you're on any platform, I guess that's always a question. Like, is it something that that platform will, for example, take care of in future, right? One of the ways that we are tackling it is that we started out in Shopify, but we are completely API backboned, and we've already started moving across different platforms. Over time, our goal is also to enable enough connectors and out-of-the-box sort of integrations that it doesn't matter whether you're on Shopify, Magento, or you're selling on Amazon, you'll actually be able to use all these different playbooks and operate your day-to-day strategies really on automated, right? But I think there's another part to it too. What e-commerce platforms like Shopify help you to do is they are a system of records. So what they have helped you to do is that they have helped you to set up your online store, right? And setting up your online store essentially means that, hey, my inventory, my catalog, my pricing system, right? All of those systems of storage, I would say, of information, right? But when you are operating your store, when you're running, you're taking the decisions, that's actually a system of flow, because what you're doing is you're looking at the data and then you're doing something, you're actioning something that impacts experience across your storefront, right? And it could even be in future across your social, across your direct selling, SMS, whatever it is, right? So there's a slight difference in that, because the first kind of system helps you set up and go online, but this kind of system, which is like a Zapier and a Canva, it helps you actually grow online, right? So I think fundamentally there's a little bit of a difference in terms of what really these different systems.
So your tool would make someone's website sing like Pavarotti.
Absolutely, I'm going to borrow that.
No, you can. I borrowed it off someone. It's not mine. I'll tell you where I got it from later. So you see, I mean, because obviously, I run a multi-channel business. Do you see, your tool expanding into other channels, so enabling people to run promotions not just on Shopify but also on, I don't know, Amazon, eBay, etc., other channels that you sell through?
For sure. We've actually just went live with an Amazon integration already. Even if you just look at how a typical brand sells today, it's also Instagram store, it's all Facebook shop, there's a Google shop ads, you do a lot of different channels. Your customers are essentially across everywhere. They can find you or your products at any point in time. So you're almost like a distributed store, right? Yeah. So definitely it's very important part of our roadmap is that powering you, I would say, to run all your strategies across all channels. It doesn't really matter if it's just your website or your web store, or anywhere else.
So I might say negative for you that automation can be a great differentiator. It enables you to basically create a fresher store, which differentiates you from other stores. Because you say one of the problems I think with Shopify is that there's a lot of very, very similar stores which have kind of been, they've taken a theme and they've customized it a bit, and it looks okay. Can you tell me what you think the best the best Shopify stores are using to stand out? What strategies they're using to do that?
Yeah, I think the primary thing that you see most of the top stores do is the number one thing is that based on how customers are engaging with their products or their store, they're actually feeding that back into what next strategy do they run on their store, right? I mean, even if you zoom out and look at an Allbirds, you'll see this entire, top collections. These are trending in this region, that sort of stuff happening, right? And that is one of the primary things is that are you really understanding, you're not just running a, dead store. It's not just some products that you like put on. It's not a Craigslist. It's not just a list of your products, right? It's actually a store. And if you're looking at a brick and mortar store, you're constantly, it's fluid. You're constantly rearranging things to make sure that the right products are getting sold, the right kind of customers are getting directed to the right part of your store, etc. And it's somehow, when folks come online, they sort of think of it almost like it's just a listing of my products. It's like a Craigslist. It's not. So the top stores actually constantly keep an eye on the data, and then they take decisions to it. And I totally understand it's super hard for, let's say, a brand which is like, again, as I said, $5 to $10 million in GMV. It's really hard because that brand owner is not a data scientist. That person's like, I think a expert on what they love to sell, like the product that they really care about.
And also, just as an entrepreneur, you have to do lots and lots of different. You know a bit about this, you're a bit of a, you're, in my case, I'm a bit of a retailer, I'm a bit of a data scientist, I'm a bit of a, fulfillment, I have to do fulfillment, marketplaces, Shopify, I have to do a bit of everything.
You have to do a bit of everything. And, but, the kind of firepower that, let's say, $100 million, like a Dawn Foods can put into, let's say, just data, it's not that easy, right? So what happens is that a lot of folks don't do as many things that they can because you're really sort of burning out to do the everyday simple things and not really getting the space to kind of step back and look at what experiments can I run, and can I cohortize all my data? Can I look at like what sort of CTAs work for one cohort of customers versus other? Tough things to do on an everyday basis, right? So the top teams constantly keep a watch of their data, and they constantly take decisions on what they are running in their store based on their data, right? The second thing that the top teams do is that they actually change even a simple sales strategy, they change it quite often, right? So, I mean, thinking about sales and promotions, it's as simple as maybe I just ran a flat 50% discount, but it's not that. There's like tons of different types of sales that you can run. You can run like, flat, you can run like buy one, get ones, you can do, up to, $99, like stuff like that, or you can do bundle freebies together. So there's this bunch of different sales strategies itself. And imagine now step back and there's so many other things to do. So the top stores definitely experiment with different kinds of promotions and different kinds of strategies, even within a bucket, right? So these, I would say, are the top things to keep in mind.
Okay, great. So one last one. Okay, so what I think we've asked you, so the future for your product, you think is very much, multi-channel, but basically just, being able to automate across the entire business?
Yeah. Being able to automate your customer experience, I would say. There are great products that do a bunch of, automating your fulfillment, automating customer support and stuff like that. But like for us, one important, and even as someone who loves buying online, I think it's a consumer. It's underrated how important it is. I mean, people talk about it often, but they think of it as a design problem consistently, is how well do I repackage my communication? But it's not just a design problem, it's also a operation and a data problem, because, what looks good for me might not be the same for you, right? You might think something else looks different, some different color catches your eye, right? So the experience is so crucial for how we have such short attention spans nowadays. We're like inundated with like tens of different brands selling very similar products, that it's so crucial to get that experience right at the drop of a hat. The first time I meet that brand, they gotta get it right? So I think experience is something that there's a ton to do, and you see that, by the way, in the enterprise segment. There are digital experience platforms now like Bloomreach, who actually enable large teams with $500 million in GMV actually automate a bunch of their experience, right? The digital experience. But of course, our goal is that can we simplify that, make it no code, make it automated, and bring it to everybody else.
Okay, so retail is detail.
Retail is detail, absolutely.
Cool. I've got one last question for you. Right, I like to have a little fluffy question at the end. What has inspired you recently?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and so the thing that quickly came to my mind, so I'm gonna speak about that. There's this book, it's called Liftoff, and it talks about like the early desperate days of the SpaceX program, right? Like how, like the race to launch that first successful rocket up, and it was like one failure after another. It just wasn't working, and then finally they got it right. They had a deadline to Elon Musk and his entire team, of course, like had to really make it work, that it's not one big failure. And the reason that was interesting for me is because I think as we are growing and as we are hiring and as we are seeing young folks join our team, I think it's becoming very pertinent that today we just have a little bit less of the, I would say, patience to kind of iterate, to kind of get things right, to kind of look at like the details and say that, hey, if it doesn't work now, it's okay. It's let's look at what went wrong and continue persevering on it, right? And it's the same even for brands. And you see like tons and tons of creators come online, create brands, and Shopify itself has so many brands that run out of business every single month. And I think this book was very interesting for me, because on one side I'm seeing this like lack of patience, and seeing this retail where tons of companies just shut down so quick. But on the other hand, this book was all about that like desperation, but how that converted into something successful. So it was very inspirational.
Excellent. I'll have to read it. I like that. Cool. Kaus, it's been lovely to speak to you. And I think I will try out your products on my retail store.
You should, for sure.
I should. Really go. Thanks. Bye-bye.